this first step. And you can see the 3 questions I prepared for this first session, moving from principles to practices. And the title, The Journey Continues, is quite accurate. It wasn't, seems some time ago, where being a young engineer in my career, what was really hip was having a slide rule attached to my hip on a case walking around campus, because that was like having a sign that said, I'm going to be an engineer. Well, we all know that's changed. What we have going now as the journey continues, moving from principle to practice, we've learned with 2020 hindsight that many engineers still think that soft skills only apply to the landing of an aircraft. We're in a situation now, as we continue to learn together, that we need to move from engineering, technology, and knowledge of subject areas into how do we deal with each other from different disciplines when we work on a project together. So let's have the context for my remarks, a project in an organization. So I'll start with the first question. What are 4 to 6 major project categories that you are required to assure you meet project requirements? What do you think they might be on an engineered project in an organization? If anyone, is someone going to comment, or do I just answer it myself?
Oh,
hello?
Well, you can proceed, Mr. William, because I didn't receive any questions yet.
Okay, and so we can come back to it. I'll present the 3 categories and then wait to see if we get questions. And so typically, different types of project categories above, you would expect that you'd have something to do with the technical disciplines that are required to meet the project requirements under the contracts. You would expect that there would be usually at least 3, if not 5 or more, engineering technologies: civil engineering, mechanical, structural, and so on, HVAC, all of those specialties needing to come together, which are actually people. They're not specialties, they're people who have that knowledge. And then the next part of the reflection is, based on your experiences for those categories, what do you think is the average percentage that each will cause, have a contribution to project failure? So if one was to say that project failure was due to these shortcomings in 4 categories, what do you think the average percentage is caused by each of those 4, such that they total up to 100% of why the project failed? And the 4 categories that I would suggest would be issues that deal with people. They deal with the process or processes for how we work together. They deal with the actual engineering technologies, which are specialties in each department or function. And then it deals with leadership within the project group and leadership within the organization where those engineers work. And then what it turns out is, for the categories, what failures, what degree requirements are required to master it? Well, it turns out that based on research I did prior to and then during the dissertation for my doctorate in engineering management, what we learned was that issues that dealt with people and dealt with process and dealt with leadership, or the lack thereof, within the project group, as well as within the organization where the project existed, contributed at least 70 to 80% of the reasons why the project failed. In other words, the engineering knowledge that the engineers gained both in the university and as they went through continuing ed for their technology they contributed somewhere between 10 to 15, maybe 20% of the reasons, but the overwhelming requirements had to do with the absence of what I call engineers in the university not being trained in the so-called soft skills. Another way of describing that practically is how to play nice together with others when they're not in your discipline. All one has to do is reflect on project meetings when there's a problem and you have engineers from, say, civil, mechanical, structural, electrical, in the same room trying to deal with a problem. They don't have the skill set to collaborate and communicate and cooperate with each other. They seem to be more oriented towards defending the work of their discipline rather than dealing with everyone in the room to come to a common understanding. And so the degree requirements to master that seem to dictate the need now as we go to the forward, not discounting the journey that we've been on that got us this far, is that we need to pay more attention to how we equip our engineers, how to listen and communicate with others without instantly going to a defense of their discipline's work. So I would like to ask if there's any questions about those thoughts.
No, not as such, Mr. William.
Yeah, I don't, can you tell how many people are connected to this talk?
Well, actually, I'm just a moderator, so I'm just in a session where I can see only the questions. So I have a link that that is showing me as a chat box. If there are any questions, I need to copy and paste on your Zoom link. That was actually told by the technical person, Mr. Usman. So
Okay.
I cannot see how many people are there or how many are listening.
Okay. The reason I bring that up is this topic is not usually, let's say, embraced by engineers, generally speaking, who are 50 years old and older. It's not in the traditions they grew up in the engineering university programs. And when they get into an organization that doesn't have enlightened leadership, they stay on the engineering technology wavelength, so to speak, and spend their energy and time defending why the work their discipline did is absolutely just fine. But if there are problems on the project, it was more than likely caused by other people in other disciplines. And so these days, we have a proliferation in the engineering profession and industry of courses and books on the subject of conflict resolution. In other words, we've dealt more with the problems we're creating than with removing those problems in the first place. And the place for that to start is revamping the engineering requirements in the universities to help our people understand how to collaborate together, how to listen to someone else and their perspective, and not immediately defend their own perspective, but actually have a conversation so they have a better understanding of other people's perspectives, so that we can remove that type of problem from the project work. One last perspective I can offer, so that not using up all of the time, I'm going to stay here on the chance some questions come up, is a number of years ago, I went to an engineering congress run by the American Society of Civil Engineers, their forensic engineering group, and listened, sat in their conference for 2.5 days, listening to them talk about it. And what occurred to me is we seem to have developed our engineering expertise where we can literally have forensic engineers go to the scene of an accident and dutifully and professionally learn exactly what happened, who did what, where did it happen, how did it happen? Was it due to, say, it's an automobile accident? Was it due to the mechanics of the automobile? Was it due to the weather? Was it due to the road, and so on? And we come back with a detailed and defensible report on why the accident happened. I am arguing today for discussion, why don't we turn that around and instead of including just forensic engineering, retitle the upside of that to forensic management. In other words, take everything you learned from your forensic engineering examination and assessment of the accident and work upstream, ask the question why, WHY, at least 5 times for each piece of information. And my experience tells me it will take you out of the accident site, right back into the organizations the engineers worked in and within, right into the leadership and policies and cultures of their firms that had behaviors that were allowed that resulted in that fatal accident. Obviously, it doesn't happen all of the time, but it happens far too frequently. But we don't lift our heads up from the scene of the accident and look back upstream forensically at the management system and the lack of controls and basically the lack of knowledge of our engineers how to unravel that information without starting from a defensive position of our discipline. So unless there's a question right now, I appreciate the privilege of being part of this very important Congress on engineering revitalization and curriculums. And I will stay online like this, and I'll wait for the moderator to see if there are any questions that come up. Thank you for the privilege of participating.
Okay, we'll end this session. And that was a nice briefing from Mr. William. Because there are no questions to be asked in the lobby. So we'll be closing this down. And thanks again, Mr. William. See you soon. Thanks.
Will I be able to hear the rest of the talk?
Sorry, come again. And did you say something?
The other speakers, will I be able to hear their presentation?
Well, actually, even I'm not sure about this. I think you need to join the sessions. If you look at what Mr. Usman has shown us, like which room you need to take.
Yes,
like,
if you want to see the other summit, you can go to the Vertex login, and there you can see the other sessions happening at this time.
Thank you.
Do you have the Vertex login?
It says Zoom events lobby.
No, Vertex login.
Vertex.
So, Dr. Kamil, sorry, you can, I think, leave because the session is over. Maybe we can guide Dr. William for the Vertex.
Okay, thanks,
Okay?
Usman.
We look
Thanks,
forward for your tomorrow session, Mr. Kamil. Okay, thank you so much.
Not a problem, because I'm just a moderator. I think Usman, I just had a little thought. I just wanted to know this because my time shows at 1:20 p.m. UTC 2.
Yes.
So is it UTC -2? Is it?
Yes, UTC -2.
So basically, as I am in Hyderabad in India, so is it 4:30 p.m. tomorrow? If you can just let me know the time.
Yes, right. What is your time?
It shows 1:20 to 3 p.m. UTC 2 -2.
It should be around like your 7 or something, 7 or 7:30, I guess. You can go to the dateandtime.com and convert your time.
Yeah, because you see, UTC is 5. We are 5:30 hours above UTC, but it is showing
right.
UTC -2. Is it not 2 hours less?
You can go to the dateandtime.com.
Okay.
And this will give you the exact time. You put your Hyderabad time zone and you put the UTC -2, and it will give you what is the time in the Hyderabad. Then.
Okay,
that's the easiest way. Dateandtime.com. Okay.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Usman. Thanks a lot.
Yes. So, Dr. William, we'll take you through the Vertex, how you can join the Vertex if you want.
Okay. Thanks for the guidance and appreciate your time.
Thanks, Mr. William. Thanks.